Hey everyone, it's Ogami here, and today I decided to go over the Spirit's lore, her base lore, her tome lore, and any cosmetic or add-on pieces that I think have interesting flavor text that add to her lore. Now, I know a lot of people have had the gist of the Spirit's lore, but I don't think a lot of people have gone in and read every single piece of the Spirit's lore. So today I decided I would do that and put it out here for all of you to watch. If you enjoyed the video, I would love for you to leave a like and comment what character I should do next from Dead by Daylight. And now on to the video. Rin was the only child of the Yamaoka family. She was raised in the dusty halls of a traditional house in Kagawa. She studied education at Takamatsu, a private university, which weighed heavily on her family's shaky finances. Her mother got ill that year, and the bills started piling up. Rin worked part-time in a futile attempt to help lighten the load. Her father faced a debt that grew without end. He started working double shifts in hopes of obtaining a promotion. That's when he started losing sleep. A dark whisper would keep him awake all night, reminding him of his hopeless situation. Exhausted, he started to lose grip on reality, fighting to deny what the voice whispered at night. Ren's father made a desperate move. He met with his superior and explained his situation. He begged for a bonus, an advance, time off, anything. His request was denied. The company had lost a defective production line that was costing them dearly. Someone had to be held accountable, and Ren's father fit the bill perfectly. He was fired after 22 years of service. That evening, Ren came home from work. She stayed late to entertain customers that lingered at the restaurant. As she parked her bike in the shed, she heard her mother's scream come from the house. She rushed in, climbing up the stairs to her parents' room. There she found bits and pieces of her mother on the floor. Her limbs were clean cut, tangled up in an unnatural position. Her breasts were sliced up, revealing her ribcage, which was cracked open. Rin gagged. A sharp katana came crashing down. Rin blocked the blade, which bit into her bare forearm. The shock of recognition interrupted her pain. Her father was wielding the katana with a stoic expression. She cried out to make him stop, but he slashed her arm again. She rushed off and slid on the blood-smeared floor. Using the door frame as support, she raised herself up. The katana ripped through the wall, cleaving off her other arm. She screamed in pain as she limped into the hallway, only to be met by her father's blade. She stepped back, trembling, as she held together the soft, loose flesh of her abdomen. Images of her mother's tangled limbs flashed before her eyes. Rin charged at her father, making him stumble back. He punched her torn abdomen and she recoiled in pain. As she struggled to get back up, he slashed her thigh, making her collapse on the floor. As she crawled towards the stairs, he grabbed her hair and yanked her against a partition. The glass shattered on impact and she fell through, landing one floor down. She heard footsteps somewhere above her. With effort she moved, worming her way into a sea of broken glass. The shards knotted her, ripping her flesh. He had to be stopped. He would not get away with what he'd done to her, with what he'd done to her mother. Coughing up blood, her chin grazed the glass, adding to the bleeding. A low-pitched heartbeat started to ring in her ears. Her body felt so heavy she couldn't move anymore. The ground shook with her father's footsteps. She knew she was not going to make it, but she no longer cared. She would make him pay, in this life or the next. Dark fog slowly veiled her eyes, but it could not subdue her rage. She would not rest, not yet. The darkness whispered, promising blood and revenge. An oath was made, and Rin closed her eyes. Rin sits at her desk, dreading the end of the school day, not because she enjoys junior high or because she respects her teachers, but because she despises being forced to learn kendo. But her father demands it. He demands that she practice the way of the sword, not just practice, excel. She's a Yamaoka. The Yamaokas come from a proud legacy, a samurai legacy. He reminds her of this every day, and every day the kids tease and humiliate her, telling her she has no business in their class, telling her she should wield a broom and not a shinai. She ignores them and tries her best. Maybe if she excels with a katana, her father would feel better. He hasn't been himself as of late. Frustrated, irritable, reactive. She can't do anything right, nor can her mother. He has become very quiet and talks and argues with himself. She doesn't understand what's happening to him, but she knows he is suffering, and the last thing she wants is to add to his pain. Family is everything, and maybe one day she'll be okay with wielding a katana. Maybe she'll even enjoy it. Rin's bones feel brittle and ready to collapse under the weight of the armor. She holds her bamboo shinai up to her opponent. I want this to be over. Can't this just be over? Her opponent insults her. He tells her there's a shattered window in the changing room that she ought to clean before someone cuts themselves. Janitor Yamaoka. He laughs. He makes another janitor joke at her expense. A sudden heat rushes up to her face. She wants to shove the shinai down his throat. See how he laughs with wooden splinters piercing through his stomach. Splinters piercing through his throat? Where did these thoughts come from? It's not like her to think such thoughts. She angles her shinai and feels something strange inside. She's never felt anything like it before. Like a waking dragon in her heart. She stares at her grinning opponent. Faster than thought, she lunges and strikes the head of her opponent. Everyone laughs at him. His head slumps in a mingled defeat and humiliation. A boy stares at her with wide, disbelieving eyes. He blinks. You might be a Yamaoka after all. She hates to admit it, but it feels good to win. No, not to win. To defeat a foe. To defeat another human being. Defeat another human being? Why would I think this? These aren't my thoughts. But they are. She doesn't understand what happened. What thing came over her to give her the strength to contend with that boy in front of her? He isn't laughing anymore. He glares at her. She beat him. Not once, not twice, but thrice. The boys continue to stare at her open mouth. Something is changing in Janitor Yamaoka. They know it. She knows it. She feels the waking dragon in her heart. It's the closest she's ever felt to being a fighter, a warrior, a Yamaoka. And she likes it. Likes being treated with respect. Likes being taken seriously. For an instant, she imagined herself beside the great Renjiro Yamaoka and his son Kazan. Something tugs in her heart, and the dragon stirs. And the dragon, she realizes, is the waking of her raging Yamaoka blood. Janitor Yamaoka, you got lucky. Let's see how lucky you really are. Boys close in on her, cursing, jesting, shouting. She wants to run, but doesn't see an opening. She wants to apologize for being good with the shinai, but the waking dragon inside her heart won't allow it. She didn't do anything wrong. She has no reason to apologize. She finally did what she was supposed to do, and now they close in on her as though she cheated. As though they could see the dragon that had helped her. She felt scared. Where is that dragon now? Where is the spirit of her ancestors? She raises a pleading hand for her abusers to stop. You will pay! You made me look foolish! For a moment there is an opening between two boys and there's no hesitation, only action. She charges through and storms across the schoolyard with a group of angry boys in pursuit. She quickly ducks behind garbage bins and watches the boys run past her. One stops, turns towards the bins, narrows his gaze. She holds her breath. She can hear her heart pounding in her head. Why hide? You're better than these peasants. Stand and show them who you are. But she does not reveal herself. She hides and wishes that the waking dragon could go back to sleep. Rin emerges from her hiding and begins her long walk home. The dragon in her heart admonishes her for hiding, tells her she is more than her tormentors and should never cower before bullies and abusers. She's not sure what she could have done or what she should think. Maybe she should have faced them. Maybe she should have confronted them. Maybe she should have beaten them down and torn them limb from limb. Limb from limb? What am I thinking? Where did that come from? Limb from limb? What dark thoughts are these? Before she can answer her own question, she hears a voice. She hears her tormentors, jeering and spewing insults at her. She doesn't turn around. She doesn't run. She doesn't run because she knows what's coming and she doesn't care. The dragon within her tells her everything is going to be okay. The boys throw garbage at her, call her Janitor Yamaoka. Janitor Yamaoka. Janitor Yamaoka! She knows what's next. She sees it in her mind's eye like a samurai of the old. They'll push her down, surround her, punch and kick her. But this time, she won't let the pain defeat her. She won't let the fear paralyze her. She'll use this fear and pain to feed the dragon. Today, her bullies will feel teeth and claws. They will feel her wrath. They will learn she is a Yamaoka. Her father sits across from her, eating his dinner in silence. Rin glances up at him occasionally, careful to avoid being accused of staring. Something is different with him. He has never been particularly talkative after work, but something seems to hang over him now. He jabs at his meal aggressively, mutters to himself, as if responding to someone. Her mother acts as if nothing is wrong. Asks Rin how her day was. It was good. She moves a piece of meat from one side of her plate to another. A lie. But the last thing her mother needs is another thing to worry about. She hasn't been herself lately either. She struggles to wake up, and Rin has heard her crying a few times. After eating, she clears her dishes and sits back down to complete her homework. Have you practiced today? His voice makes her wince. Each syllable is staccato sharp. I will after this. For a moment, his face contorts into one of anger, but he represses it almost immediately. See to it that you do. Rin sits on the wooden floor. The walls around her shift and warp. Rain falls on her head, despite the ceiling above. A crash, like a thunder or a car wreck, rings out from behind her. She whips her head around. There's now a door where there once was a wall. Standing in the doorframe, a figure with a sword. Rin leaps to her feet and begins to run. The ground turns from smooth wood to a slick, void concrete, and each step takes all of her focus to avoid slipping. She hears a faint hissing above the sound of her footfalls. She glances over her shoulder. The figure is gaining on her. A gnarled root cracking through the concrete catches her toe, and Rin tumbles to the ground. Pain crackles through her elbows, her knees. She tries to crawl away, but a hand grabs her ankle and pulls her. She rolls to her back and throws up her hands in a feeble attempt to defend herself. Looks up. Her father. It's definitely him, but it isn't. His face is twisted, contorted into a foul grin. He takes the sword and holds it up, just as she had learned in her classes, preparing to deliver a killing blow. The hissing is overwhelming now. His mouth is moving, but you cannot hear words, only hissing. From the darkness behind him, she sees a great, white form move with terrifying speed. She tries to point, to warn him. He just grins, a sword over his head. It comes into view, and her arms falls. A snake. She tries to scream, but no sound comes out. She watches as the snake swallows her father whole, sword and all. Rin gasps for air as she awakens. It's just a dream, Rin. Her mother's voice is weak, but reassuring. Rin sits on the floor beside her mother, who is laying in bed. It doesn't feel like a normal dream. Rin pulls her knees to her chin, hugs them. She's never taken a day off school, but she slept so little last night that she feels like she might pass out on the bike ride there. Her mother sighs, partly exasperated, partly from the pain. I used to have nightmares too. Really? What were they about? Oh, lots of things. About your father losing his job. About losing you. Sometimes it's your body's way of telling you you're under too much stress. What did you do to make him stop? Well, nothing. I suppose my brain accomplished what it needed to, work through whatever was bothering it. Rin looked up at her mother, who had rolled over to face her. She smiles, despite clearly being in great pain, just being on her side. Of course, the spider dreams never stopped. Spiders? Yes, big, hairy spiders, with big googly eyes dropping from the ceiling. Her mother reaches out and grabs the top of Rin's head, ruffles her hair with her fingers. Rin jerks away, giggling. Mom! Rin, I want you to do nothing today. No homework, no practice, just let yourself relax. I promise, this will pass. It says that rain can be a positive thing. Rin looks up from her lunch at her friend Nanami. She has a book of dream interpretation propped up on her knee as she balances a bento box on the other leg. Like how spring rain means new beginnings. Chiaki laughs. I don't think getting chased with a sword means rebirth. What does your book say about swords? Nanami awkwardly flips through the book, nearly spilling her lunch on the floor. It doesn't really seem like it applies. Rin mutters at her friend quietly but forcefully. Go on, read it. It means power, strength, but usually people dream about having the sword themselves. Chiaki laughs, points at Nanami with her chocolate bar. See, Rin? You just have to take the power. Next time you have the dream, try taking the power away. I can't change the dream. It's the same thing every time. The school bell rings, and Nanami shoots up from the hallway floor, pushes up her glasses. Come on, we're gonna be late. Chiaki points her candy bar at Rin now, shaking it, comes sprinkling the hall floor. You think Rin cares about being late? She's one of the bad kids now. She's skipping school. Aren't you, Rin? I was sick. Yeah, sure. Sick. I hate Professor Morimoto. Come on, let's skip. Here she is again. The wooden floor, the rain falling from the ceiling, the crash behind her. She doesn't even bother to turn around this time. She knows it's him. She rises to her feet and begins to run. It feels as though her entire body is made of jelly, like she's running underwater. She scans the ground intently for the root, sees it, attempts to leap over it, but she can never dodge the root. It bends and whips into the air, grappling her, pulling her to the ground. That familiar pain radiates through her joints. She rolls to her back again, looks up at him. That grin, again. She tries to shout at him over the crescendo of the snake's hiss. Why? As if to respond. His voice mouths words, but, again, no sound comes out. And just as he attempts to strike a blow, the snake devours him whole again, and Rin wakes up. She checks the watch beside her bed. 3 in the morning. She knows she isn't going to sleep anymore tonight, so she sits up, stares at the wall, and waits for the sun to rise. At her mother's insistence, she stayed home again today, but her mother's in no condition to keep her company. She needs her sleep. Rin instead pads around the house, looping between the kitchen, her bedroom, the living room. Can't decide what to do with her day. After the 5th or 6th time, she looks in the fridge. She thinks of her father's office. Something overtakes her and she finds herself at his desk, looking over his papers. She checks her watch. Plenty of time before he gets home. She picks up a folder, flips through it. Nothing interesting. She carefully places it back where she found it. She rifles around the desk, stops when she sees something hidden at the bottom. An old, leather-bound book. She picks it up, flips it open. The Yamaoka family and the Yamaoka curse. She snaps the book closed and feels this unfamiliar anger bubble up within her. Why does he have this? And why is he hiding it? She closes the desk, making sure nothing is out of place, walks towards the door and freezes. Her eyes rise above the door. She never noticed it before. Or perhaps it hadn't been there before. The sword from her dream. As the first patters of rain cool the tops of her scalp, she realized she is in her dream again. She pulls herself up and starts running again. The same dance. She runs and keeps running. The root should have tripped her by now. A different kind of fear creeps up on her. This is new territory. Despite the fear, there was at least something comforting her about the predictability of it. As she runs, she sees a different figure in the distance. She slows her run as she gets closer. The figure is massive, poking over her. She's never seen him before, but she recognizes him immediately. Kazan Yamaoka. She gazes up at him, and hate washes over her. If he had just died, she wouldn't be stuck here, stuck in this house, with his responsibilities, with her father. But she knows there's nothing she can do about it. Soon, her father will come and try and kill her, and the snake will stop him. As she thinks this, Kazan draws his sword, holds it out to her, gestures for her to take it, to use it to kill her own father. She hears her father's footsteps getting closer behind her. In a panic, she grabs the blade, readies herself for his attack, turns around. Her father is not alone. Behind her father stands another man, an older man, his eyes pleading for her to stop. She feels the hatred for Kazan emanate from behind her, almost like the heat. So this is Kazan's father. The hissing comes back, and behind him, the snake again. She lowers her guard, waiting for it to strike, to swallow her father, to wake her up, to stare at a wall until sunrise, to drag herself through the motions, to watch her mother continue to decay in front of her eyes, to watch her father fall deeper into whatever is wrong with him. The snake pauses, surveys the scene. This time, her father looks up at the snake too. All of them do. Something inside her tells her that this is her moment. She raises her guard again and dashes forward, preparing to strike her father, to end this cycle, and stops, and drops the blade, and everything goes dark as she is swallowed whole. To start off talking about the add-ons, I will be talking about the 2 mother add-ons, which are the mother's glasses and the mother-daughter ring, which both show how close Rin and her mother were, and how devastating it was when Rin found her mother dead by her father's hand. The next add-on I'm going to talk about is going to be the dried cherry blossom add-on, which basically references how the cherry blossom references life in Japanese culture and mortality, and now that it's dried out, it represents Rin's death and her not being in a state of mortality anymore. The final add-on I want to talk about today is the Kitsuki Teacup add-on, which talks about how the cup has been mended and lacquered with powdered gold and how it is perfect now, and that's how the entity sees Rin. Now that the entity has fixed her into the spirit, she is perfect. She is the teacup. To start off with cosmetics, I will be talking about the Awakened Origin outfit, which is basically what the spirit could have become if she had let her ancestors' rage take over her and she had actually killed those boys in Tome 2. The next outfit I'm going to be talking about is the Lonely Celebration outfit, which I think just does a great job at showing how Rin really was just a normal girl before all of this went down, and if her father had not killed them both, she could have stayed living this normal life and not been taken into the entity's realm. The next cosmetic in the list is the Senior Student outfit, which I think is another cosmetic that does a great job at showing how Rin was really a normal person before all of this, and she was just a student, and that if her dad wouldn't have killed them both, that she could still be living this life and not be in the entity's realm. The final cosmetic I'm going to talk about is the Nightmare Serpent outfit, which shows her as the snake from her nightmares during Tome 20. And I just really like this because it just shows how the snake was haunting her and what she has become because of it. If you enjoyed this video, I would love for you to leave a like and comment what character I should do a lore video on next. And thank you all for watching so much, and I will see you hopefully in the next video. Goodbye!